Hi, everybody. Welcome to episode number 2 of the Lifehack podcast, a show that inspires you to be creative and motivates you to tinker with electronics. I am your host, Eddie Espinal. In today's show, I'm going to share the details behind the feeding machine Lifehack project that I posted on Instagram on July 29, 2018. If you are new to my channel, please take a moment to check or follow at Lifehacker on Instagram. That's the place where I share all of my projects and will be the main driver of this podcast. With that out of the way, let's dive right in. Today's project has been one of my favorite posts that I share on social media. And the reason for that, which you're going to learn shortly, is because it has to do with my son. I don't usually share personal information on social media, but I'm going to break the rules for my podcast. In 2013, my son, who was 3 years old at that time, he was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy. And for those that don't know, muscular dystrophy is a disease that causes progressive weakness and loss of muscles. And what that basically does is that over time, he has become very weak and unable to perform normal functions that a normal kid would do, such as even climbing up the stairs or doing the monkey bar in the playground. And we definitely noticed those signs when he was even younger, but it was validated in 2013 after he went through a procedure where they took a piece of muscles and they were able to find out and figure out why he was so weak at the age of 3. And it was there when they diagnosed him with the muscular dystrophy. Because the disease keeps progressing, it has also affected his way of eating. Besides that, he's a picky eater. He barely gets hungry and he barely eats. And that's why his GI doctor recommended that we insert a G-tube into his stomach and use that G-tube to feed him formula at night or even during the day, providing him enough calories that he's able to sustain his weight and make up for the calories intake that he doesn't do on a normal day, that we can feed him at night so that way he can stay healthy. Although for us that's a challenge, we feed him a bunch of formula. It's also still limited to and cannot compare to the normal calories that you would take by eating a normal balanced meal. So in order to provide him or to feed him this formula via the G-tube, we have to use a machine. And it's a feeding machine that is provided by the insurance company that we get to use until his G-tube gets removed. Because of this machine is why I decided to create this project. And now let's hear what are the problems that we're facing and how I'm planning to address them. So right out of the bat, this machine comes with everything needed to feed the formula to my son's G-tube. But this machine came with a lot of problems. And one of them is the fact that the machine emits this sound when the machine's finished feeding the formula that is not loud enough to reach across the room. And this machine has different reasons why it will stop feeding at night. For instance, if the machine gets clogged, which could happen, sometimes when my son is sleeping, if he moves around, the tube can get tangled, and that prevents the feeding to go through the tube, and the machine will detect that and it will stop and it will start beeping. And the other one is when the machine is done feeding the formula, it will stop and it's going to start beeping. So it had 3 different stages or 3 different things that can happen during the feeding process. So the machine has 3 different LEDs, one that is green, one that is orange, and the other one that is red. So for instance, if the machine is working fine, the green light is on. But if anything happens, like let's say if the machine gets clogged, I think the orange light is going to start blinking. And when the feeding machine is done, I think it starts blinking red. And the thing is that we have to take actions right away if any of those notifications gets triggered, because we have to prevent the machine from feeding air to his stomach, because that can be very dangerous. So it's important that we take actions the minute that we hear the machines beeping. And also, the other problem could be that if let's say the machine was tangled or it was clogged and we don't take actions, then the formula can get spoiled that's still remaining to be fed. So now that I share the problem, let me share what solutions I have in mind in order to address these issues. The first solution, because this is a two-part project, the first solution that I had in mind was to use an Arduino compatible board. And for this project, I used specifically the Adafruit Feather with the ESP8266 Bondro. And also on the feeding machine side, I used an electric imp, which is also connected to the internet using a Wi-Fi module. But on both systems, I also added different components. So for instance, since the feeding machine had different LEDs, like I mentioned before, to give you the status, I used those LEDs to record a signal and send it to the Arduino or the Adafruit Feather that was sitting in my room. And I do that by placing the light sensors in between the orange and the red LED, because I didn't care which of the notifications except for the green light that gets triggered. So I was only looking for reading the LED from the orange or the red, because both of them signal that something is happening with the machine, something is wrong. And what I did, that I put the light sensor in between those two, and I hot glued the light sensors. And with that and the electric imp, I was able to get the reading and store it online on a website called thingspeak.com, which they have an API that is super easy to implement. And I was able to send the data that was constantly reading the LED light with the light sensors. And if the light sensor spike, it meant that the light was on or the machine was beeping. And then the other board that was sitting in my room, which using again the Adafruit Feather, it was also listening to the API from thingspeak.com, and it was looking for any threshold or any signal changes that was coming from the reading of the light sensor across the room. If that happened, the Adafruit Feather, I added a buzzer and also a red LED that will beep and blink the red LED in the night that was close to my bed. And the minute that the machine started beeping, the board that was next to my bed, it will start beeping also, and it will start blinking an LED. And at that point, what we had to do is just to press the push button that I added on that system to stop the beeping on the room while you go and take actions right away. The reason why I'm so excited to share this project is because honestly, that was like so rewarding. The first night that we tested out, and my wife, I think she did put her alarm. She set it to just as a backup. But for me, it was so rewarding to see that before her alarm gets triggered, my system was already beeping, which means that it was working, and it was working so accurately that the minute the machine triggers, because it was done feeding, we will hear it in our room, and then we will get up and take actions. And my wife super happy that it worked. And you just can imagine myself. I was in the room. I remember when she got up to go disconnect my son from the machine, I was so excited. I just couldn't sleep after that. I was celebrating on my own. I was patting myself in the back because it was so rewarding to use technology to fix a real world problem. It's amazing what you can do nowadays with technology, and it's super cheap, because if you see the total cost for this project, after I pay shipping from different companies, because I think I ordered from Adafruit, I ordered from SparkFun, there were different components, and I think I even ordered from eBay. The total was around $60. You know, $60 for something that fixes such a big problem is priceless. So the result, now we can sleep better. We don't have to worry about the machine clogging or the milk getting spoiled at night, or feeding air to my son's stomach, which could be fatal. But also we're able now to take actions fast, because the machine, the minute the machine starts beeping, we get notified and we can get up and take actions. All right, guys, thank you for listening to this episode. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed the show and give it a review on iTunes. And also, don't forget that you can find the show notes and the details of this project on 4hacker.com/EP02. You're going to find the show notes, you're going to find the details, you're going to find photos, you're going to find the source code, and also you're going to find the list of the parts that I use in this project. I appreciate you. I hope to see you in the next episode, and thank you for supporting the 4Hacker podcast.